Welcome to the Felt Dyslexic Artist Interview. My name is Liz Buckridge. For me, as a dyslexic artist, other artists and creatives have always been my number one inspiration. In these interviews, we talk with artists and creatives who share their stories, and we gain insight into their process from inspiration to art tips, career building, and more. We're so lucky to listen to the wisdom of Richard Goulis today. I'm so excited to hear about his past and future projects and share insights of life as an artist. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Liz.
Nice. Thank you for talking with us today. Nice
Oh,
to meet you.
no, my pleasure. My pleasure.
I'm going to jump right in.
Interesting project.
Oh, thanks.
That's kind of the first I really got to understand what it was.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah, no.
So I'm going to jump right in. Describe the art you make. What mediums do you primarily work in, and why do you choose those mediums?
Yeah, okay. Well, I have a background in television production, but I've always done art since I was a kid and always drew and never really took it very seriously, but until maybe my early 20s when I said, "Come on." And then I went to art school. But my choice of medium is I started out doing all kinds of stuff, just making stuff, drawing mostly, drawing and painting. And then I started doing video when I got introduced to video when I was at the Rhode Island School of Design in the early 80s. And from there on, just video just became this kind of magical world. But I also have done a lot of performance art stuff and also some sculptural elements involved with video. So video installation, and then the performances a lot of times incorporate video also. And then I've done some painting stuff. You can see some stuff on the walls here in the studio, over here and behind us and all over the place. So, and that's kind of what I am too. I'm kind of all over the place sometimes, but yeah, I don't know, maybe that's a place to start.
All of the things.
Yeah.
So how did you get into making art? Can you tell us
Yeah.
about your background and how you first became interested in making art?
You know what? I think I remember this very distinctly. I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and we were moving into a new house, and we were in the cellar, just looking at the cellar because it was a new place, and there was a piece of sheetrock, like a piece of chalk, basically. And my father picked it up, and there was a wall over the workbench, a piece of plywood, and he drew a picture of me and my three brothers, like this goofy kind of Basil Wolverton, Mad Magazine kind of thing. Took him like 4 seconds, and I was like, I said, that is, I've never experienced that, like that sort of instant creation, like in the moment. And I mean, and they stayed up there for years on the wall. And I would look at it once in a while. And I think my dad was a kind of a frustrated artist himself, and he was a school administrator, educator, and but always made stuff and always invited me to help him with things. And so the creative process, so I was always kind of around it. I was always intrigued by it as a kid, I guess. And I just it brought me joy when people would look at something I made and they say, "That's really good. You're an artist." Shut
I love that.
up.
How did you get into your specific style? What themes or subjects inspire your work?
Well, that's a range of stuff, and it changes a lot, So, I mean, sometimes it's politically motivated. Sometimes it's just what's going on with me personally, where I am, where I live, who am I looking at, who am I seeing, how am I feeling. There's a lot of things. I love going to museums. I love seeing things that are that you've either heard about or have been inspired by, and to really see those pieces. in person is a really kind of a mind altering experience. You know, a lot of times. I don't know. Answer your question.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself neurodivergent or neurotypical?
Well, it depends who you talk to, I think. But I guess I never really thought about it. I think, I mean, I know that I was always kind of outside of things. I was always a little bit different. Like I always finished my work first in school. I remember that, you know, and I remember in fourth grade, my teacher taking me to the museum because I was such a troublemaker, and she just wanted to, you know, shut me up or something. I don't know. I was really the class clown. I mean, I guess that kind of carried through all the way through into through high school and stuff. But anyway, um, I don't know. What was the question again?
Do you consider yourself
Oh no,
neurodivergent or neurotypical?
okay, so that proves like so people say that I have ADHD, and I'm trying to kind of remember what that is.
Yeah, that's a neurodivergent
Yeah,
quality.
yeah, it's
Dreamer.
yeah. I mean, I guess it's becoming more apparent, you know, and people start labeling all these things now. So sometimes you're in meetings, and if there's other people in the meeting, and you just start talking about creative things, and you never really talk about what you're supposed to be talking about. You just like bounce off all this, and then like nothing happens. It's just like
Well, what happens is creativity, right?
wow,
Not the details.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
right, yeah. So I mean, so I maybe no, maybe I'm not typical. I don't know.
Well, have you ever faced any challenges or setbacks in your art career? And how did you overcome them?
Oh well, every day is a setback. Every day is, and I mean, it's like it seems like I mean, you know, there's some really great successes, and you can't believe that you did something and you got something or you sold something or you made this and it looks like something that's impossible and you don't realize that it happened. Um, and I, when that happens, I sometimes either laugh or I cry. I mean, it's like real. I mean, I sit at the editing console, editing video sometimes, and it just seems automatic. And just something happens, and that lines up, and that lines up, and it's like the computer's doing. Like I got to be going over here, and the computer, it's all happening by itself. And I see it, and I'm like, yeah, like wow.
Cool.
And it's like, and but that means sometimes it takes me a whole day to do 30 seconds of video.
I hear that. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Connecticut, rural Connecticut. Some people say I'm a swamp Yankee. Yeah, huh?
Did you do art when you were a kid? Do you remember doing art when you were little?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I remember doing, you know, doing artwork. You know, I also remember my parents really supporting it. You know, if I was complaining about something, go draw something, go make something.
Um, do you have a favorite colorway or palette for your art? And is the colorway for your art different or the same as the colors in your house?
My house is very colorful, and I feel like I use a lot of colors. My palette is very broad, very wide ranging. Um, when it comes to, you know, I approach color in various ways. You know, when you're making video, you know, your color is very important, right? And it's also very manipulative. You can manipulate it. It, you know, is able to be manipulated. But the goal is to make it as true to real life as possible, right? So that's one sort of mindset, and that's, you know, you struggle with that. But then when, you know, working on something like that, you know, it's about just what feels right, And I remember, I think this comes from growing up, maybe my mother, or it's like I remember like getting dressed for school. I don't like talking about my childhood a lot with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I like making my clothes match. Like if I had blue pants on, I would want like a blue shirt or something that went with it. That was like a thing.
Yeah.
You know,
I do.
Did everybody do that?
No,
Yeah. Oh,
we do though.
yeah. Well, so
So describe the space where you make your art. Where are we right now?
this is my studio in the Dreyfus Hotel, the AS 220 Dreyfus building on Matheson Street. This is actually where, when they first bought this building in early 2000s, mid 2000s, it was the print shop, the original print shop. And they moved that to another building. When they got the building next door, they moved it over there. Yeah, so it's a little space. Share it with another person. And yeah, it's great to be downtown. It's a little oasis downtown.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. I love your studio.
Oh,
I love everything out.
Yeah, everything. I'm sort of reorganizing now. It's a kind of a mess. A real hellhole at the moment.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, Brad did a good job cleaning it up over there. Yeah.
So, did your school system support your interest in art when you were growing up?
Well, I mean, there was always, I remember going to art class, everybody went, and I always liked that. And then when I got into high school, there were, I kind of, the art teachers saw a lot of potential in me, but I was like, yeah, I was very rebellious. Um, but I mean, I would do art. Like, I graduated in high school in 1976, believe it or not, so ancient history, and that was the bicentennial, right? So I made this big flag stencil and I painted it with spray paint on the top of the garage where they put all the lawnmowers out by the sporting field. That was my art project. Nobody, I mean, it was a total renegade guerrilla thing. It was not endorsed by the school.
Oh my God.
But I mean, I remember feeling very supported by them, but I just, I took it for granted and I probably dissed them quite a bit. But I remember my art teacher buying my clay pots that I made. Used to buy them for me.
That's awesome.
I know. I had it. It all comes back. I try to make up for that now.
How do you see your work evolving and changing in the future? What do you have planned?
Plans. Wow. Well, I started getting really interested in public art. You know, different materials. Uh, thinking about thinking about different environments for my work. I've always been kind of mixed media person, right? Um, but I have a public piece over at the Wedding Cake House on Broadway in Providence. It's these two trees that I grew together since they were little oak trees, little saplings. When they're about this big, I planted them 6 feet apart. Well, one was there already, and the squirrel planted one across the yard, and I dug that up and put it next to it. So it's 6 feet, and every year, well, after a few years, they got tall enough so that when I bent them towards each other, they would touch, and then I started binding them together. And so, 15 years later, they grew into this 14-foot tall arch, and I said to myself then that, well, when this is big enough and you can walk underneath it, I'm going to cut them down and then the bittersweet. So anyway, those women have it now.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. What was the question though?
It was what do you have planned?
Oh yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean, that I have some planned pieces right now. I've got the materials all made. I need some help doing some fabrication and some steel and I'm incorporating some glass. I just got this 6-foot oak log that was already milled, and each slab is about 6 feet by 3 inches, and it's this beautiful seasoned oak wood. And I actually, maybe later today after we're done, I'm going to go over to see Larry in the CNC machine and see if he can help me. I want to start working into the surface. It's so thick. In the CNC machine, you can dig into the wood from the top. So you lay it down in this table, the computer numerical coordinate, whatever it is. I forget what CNC stands for, but anyway, so it maps it out. You do a drawing, you feed it into the computer, and it just does it into the material.
Oh,
So that's a really cool thing. So I like that kind of thing. I've been sort of timid about getting into the electronic stuff, but I teach video production and multimedia stuff at URI, University of Rhode Island. So, I feel compelled to stay in touch with them. Place to start there for that one.
is making art an emotional process for you or strategic?
Oh, wow. Well, phew.
Or both?
Well, that's almost the same thing. I mean, there is a lot of emotion involved, absolutely. And strategy sort of brings to mind like the planning of it, the ability of it, ability to do it and to sort of make sure you're able to, complete a task that you need to do. So it's a really big mix, it's a really big mix. I think they're sort of feeding each other and supporting each other back and forth a lot, strategy and emotion.
I agree.
Uh,
Can you walk us through your creative process from idea to finished piece? You did that a little bit with the trees.
oh
Is
yeah.
there anything else?
Well, yeah, I mean everything has a process, depending on what I'm working with, so every material has its own sort of parameters and ways of becoming something, right? So I guess it's about, and I also, by the way, I work with a lot of different artists, and I've been to many of their studios around the state and the region, and I love doing that, and I love hearing about their processes and how they make things, and it sinks in, and it inspires me, and I want to know how. And I mean, I started carving stone because I worked with these two amazing stone carvers in Rhode Island, Tracy Mahaffey and Nick Benson. They're both world class stone carvers, and I mean they and then a guy that does all some fabrication for both of them and others, many others all across the world. Jack Afonso's studios up in Seekonk right now, and it's like all these people. I stay in touch with them. That's actually where I got the wood from. This guy, and Gilpin, he's a furniture maker, and and he's got two guys that have a studio there. And I mean, it's like this project that I did. It's called Networks Rhode Island, and this might go into that question. I don't know, but I did about 115, 112 video portraits of artists, contemporary artists working in Rhode Island from 2008 to 2016. And they're all online. Networks Rhode Island .org. You can see it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. They got off track, I think.
You're fine. How do you combine the art you love to make and the art you sell?
Oh, well, the only thing I've ever really made money out is doing video, you know. So I kind of when that first started happening, it was like, okay, this is what the client wants, and here's the script, and here's their blah blah blah, and here's the blah blah blah, put it together, and there you go. Here's, thanks. Next. So I was kind of, but then as I started really sort of, I started breaking away from that way of doing things and way of thinking, and sort of making it my own. And so that was an evolution. It was really interesting, and something that you don't actually realize until you stop, and it's like you look back and you say, okay, that happened. So it's always changing.
Growth.
Growth.
All right.
Yeah.
So how do people find your art or videos to
Oh,
purchase?
well, there's stuff all over the place. I have a Vimeo site, Richard Goulis, Vimeo. You could see a lot of good stuff on there. I work with a lot of artists, and they hire me to do little bits and pieces about maybe they have a studio visit, or I mean a gallery show, or maybe they have something in the studio that they're working on, and a finished piece they want to talk about this finished piece. Sometimes it's my own work in there. I don't know. It's
Do
a
you have a
good place.
website?
Yeah, I have a website. Is it rgoulis.com, I think?
We will find out and we'll put it in the show notes. Can you share a recent project or a piece of work that you're particularly happy about?
Piece of work I'm happy about. Well, I mentioned those networks, and I'm really proud of that body of work. And we're talking about putting it. It's been on Rhode Island PBS for quite a bit, and we're talking about resurfacing that stuff. Actually, like right now, like today, they got all the tapes delivered. Um, so um, let's see. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
something. Yeah.
I'm excited to see it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, but yeah,
Anything else?
yeah, I'm sure
I
there is.
think that your artwork is pretty cool and behind you.
Oh, those are my encaustic pieces. Yeah, encaustic. Well, you basically, instead of paint, you use melted wax. So that's what that little hot plate thing is up there. Brad, you don't get any B-roll? Just let it go. Yeah.
How do you stay motivated as an artist?
Oh, well, because the alternative is just not interesting enough.
Are there any other, well, you actually mentioned a bunch of artists and creatives that have that you learned a lot from,
Yeah.
but is
Oh, there's
there,
many more than I mentioned.
yeah. So has there anybody that's inspired your work that you can think of?
Um, it's way too many to even mention. I mean, it started when I was a student. I discovered the work of Chris Burden. It really informed my performance and my sort of sensibilities about being sort of avant-garde and on the outside of things. That sort of resonated with me, and it excited me. Joseph Boy. So those are early influences of people that are working in weird sort of surrealistic and fluxus art movements and things like that and performance in the 70s and 80s that really were sort of inspiring early on. And then I've always been inspired by the Impressionist painters, that era, because they were so seemingly persecuted for painting landscapes. Think about it. I mean, anyway, so and it keeps going. It keeps going. I mean, I'm inspired by what young people are doing. You see things. Some of these graffiti artists that are doing amazing work, and um, you know, other performers and dancers. It's kind of an endless thing. So the more I think about it, the more I could keep blabbing about it, because it's just endless things. And I above it all, it is an inspiration. All these people that I've mentioned and experiences, but I also am always on the quest to make it, what I make, my own. and different from all of that. That's really important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you give an aspiring artist looking to pursue a career in the arts?
Just be true. Be true to yourself. Be true to what you like, what turns you on, what excites you, what inspires you. Don't don't worry so much about, oh, I better make this because it's sell. That's kind of a bad mindset. Is if I've always found that if you really like, my favorite pieces are the ones that people say, yeah, I gotta take that one. And I think,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it. you know I mean, not everybody can do that. Not everybody is able to do that. Not everybody's brave enough to do that. I wasn't at first. I wasn't able to do that. I can do it now. I'm a little more able to do it now. Still not that good at it.
Keep going.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another part of the motivation, right? So you do.
What is your favorite book, movie, song, or podcast?
Book, movie, song, podcast. I'm not a podcast person really,
Okay.
though there's so many. And I did the first podcast. It might have been actually the only one I ever listened to the whole thing. Was that one Prime Town? It was about the mafia in Providence.
That makes sense.
That was the only one I really listened to. I don't know, but I know. I mean, I thought about um, making one, and people have asked me to be on them and stuff. This is a podcast, right?
Yeah. It's a podcast show. Yeah.
Huh.
With some visual.
All right. So this one.
Any book or movie?
Oh,
What music do you listen to?
well, movies. I mean, movies are huge in my life. I mean, I used to think that no movie is, like every movie is worth watching, no matter what, no matter how bad or lousy or terrible it is. I used to think that. I still kind of think that, but you know, but you can accept the lousiness. You know, you can accept it and understand it. You know, as I was the gallery director at AS220, AS220 has a mission statement that basically says anybody can show here, and it's an unjuried and uncensored facility and venue. So when I was the gallery director, I'm not anymore, but that was in the 80s, about 4 years or so I was. And anything that came in, you had to put it up. Like, no question, you didn't balk. Like, somebody comes in with paint by numbers. Okay, let's put it up. You had to do it. And so it made me, and it was not really a stretch, I found out, to find something that redeeming or really good about everything that came in. And I was really proud of that. And I carried through with that. I still feel that about people's works.
What kind of music do you listen to?
Music. I listen to a lot of stuff. I mean, I listen to the blues. I listen to rock and roll. I listen to old time rock and roll. I listen to what my kids listen to, rap. You know, Actually, my kids listen to more stuff that I listened to. I was young. I listened to what's going on now. But I have 21-year-old and a 19. And that's a whole other story. But yeah, so I mean, music is, I like bluegrass, I like jazz, I like classical music. And I also like listening to stand-up comedians. I have satellite radio in my car, so I also listen to books on audio. and I've been going through. So when I drive down to URI during the week, I put on the audiobooks.
Remember what you're listening to right
Oh
now?
yeah, all the Frank Herbert books, the Dune series books. I'm just finishing up his last book he wrote before he died, which is the Captain House. So all about the Bene Gesserit, all those, everybody calls them the witches. Oh, these wild women.
Is there a book that you recommend over and over again to people?
I don't do that, but I don't know, maybe.
No. Okay. Um, what do you want to talk about that I didn't ask?
Oh, um, what are you having for supper?
Ate already.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
I did not.
what are you having for
I
supper?
liked. I started cooking during the pandemic closed down. I started getting all these New York Times articles and started learning how to cook, like for reals. I'm pretty good now.
What are you having for dinner?
I don't really know.
Oh,
I think everybody's probably already eaten. They knew I was going to be late today, so
okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you so
Oh,
much,
thank you.
Richard, for letting us into your studio today.
Yep.
I felt inspired for sure.
Oh, are you an artist?
I am.
What do you like to make?
Well, right now I'm doing pastels. I'm doing the cover art for my blog posts. So I take one of the photos that are going to be in the blog post and I do a pastel. I like markers and Sharpie
Oh,
um and then overlay pastel on top.
mm.
And but I've worked in oil paints and done some metal and linoleum and wood and kind of all of it.
Like welding.
Yeah, a little bit.
Have you been to the steel yard? That's another place you should look at. Steelyard.com. .org.
Okay.
Yes, farm fresh. You guys keep rattling off things. You have to put them up if I say them.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Oh, good. Yeah,
You're a
it's fun.
funny guy.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
fun.
I don't know.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, you are too. Yeah, yeah. I think this is good. I should watch the other ones you made.
Yeah, you should.
Everybody
right.
should.
Everyone should. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.